You go in first, Slira chittered nervously as he looked into the derelict hulk of a spaceship. A gaping hole on the side of the hull looked as dark as the void. You would think someone with a chitin exoskeleton would be braver, Gork replied, keeping their ship aligned with the floating ruin. He spoke like someone would to a small infant, with the patient tone that suggested that this exact exchange had occurred 100 times before. Why do we even need to scavenge? Slira said. We have fuel for the fusion reactor, plasma cells for the weapons, and food. We aren't going to die anytime soon, least not from unpreparedness. And we're pretty rich. And I'd like to stay rich, Gork said. Architect is worth a damn fortune on the black market, and normal tech is pricey these days with the war going on. We're going topside soon as I find a place to attach the maglocks. Slira stared at the ship and ground his mandibles as the darkness engulfed their ship. He closed his eyes and tried to imagine that he was safe and sound again in his hive, laughing and drinking with his friends in the darkness. What was different with the dark here and the dark back home? Suddenly, he screeched as their ship precariously scraped the side of the hulk. Can you get this infernal piece of junk under control? Gork shrugged as the ship attached with a loud, reverberating clank. He heaved his massive, fur-covered bulk out of the pilot's seat and started towards the airlock where he began to put on a pressurized suit that looked 2 sizes too small. Slira just stared blankly as Gork fumbled around with his helmet. Any day today would be great, Gork said as he finally managed to seal of his suit. Slira took a deep breath of recirculated air. We must be near crew quarters, Gork said, gesturing at the floating pillow with the flashlight embedded in his suit's arm. He continued moving down the hallway with a portable drone floating closely behind him. That's lovely to hear, Slira said in between gritted mandibles. I don't understand why you're so scared. It's an empty ship. Everyone inside either escaped in pods or died. My kind have a fear of derelicts encoded in our DNA. Some early brood queen added it when exploring an abandoned spaceship released a predecessor poison. An entire hive world puked out blood and died. Huh. Yeah. So what species do you think this ship belonged to? Gork said, stripping a circuit board of a processing chip and putting it on the drone. Hard to say. Too small for your kind and too sterile for mine. Definitely not predecessor, Slira sniffed in disdain. This tech is obsolete. Who even uses carbon nanotubes anymore? What's wrong with carbon nanotubes? Stuff's light, strong, a pause, and cheap. There's a reason building standards outlawed its use. It gets into your lungs and tears them up from the inside, and it's absolutely terrible for the environment. Never took you as an environmentalist. Our worth is what we do for a world, Slira quoted from his broodmother. She had always drilled that into him. Sounds peachy. Help me with this door, would you? A few grunts later, the door shifted enough to allow Gork to fit in. It opened into a wide room, tall enough for 3 Gorks to stand up straight and still not touch the ceiling. There were several crates still attached to the ground. Jackpot. Gork moved and started lifting the crates and attaching them to his drone. Slira stared at the crates. He thought of the world-eating virus and the billions that had died. Are you going to help me lift this cargo? Gork said angrily, after realizing Slira had not moved. Maybe we should leave it, Slira offered. We don't know what's inside and it could be dangerous. And risk losing the only profit this little excursion has brought? Gork shook his head. These past few hours haven't been fruitful, so help me attach these to the drone. Slira paused just a moment before joining in. He was fairly certain this was a Terran shipment. A couple hours later, they returned to their ship. After calming down Slira, very fearful for an insectoid that wasn't supposed to feel any fear, Gork started to inspect the day's trawl. There was a lot of scrap, worth several thousand credits. Gork shook his head disapprovingly. He could make that in a day without getting lost in a foreign derelict ship. The crates were made of some sort of organic celluloid substance. Interesting, but not valuable. They probably had something inside them, Gork realized after thinking very hard about it. Thinking was not his species' forte. Gork ejected a claw and, before Slira could complain some more, Gork split one of the boxes straight down the middle. Nothing happened. Inside the box were several sealed black jars with red flakes inside. Slira reached out and took one in his hand. He tried to read the label, but his Terran was pitiable. "Are they worth anything?" Gornk asked immediately. "I haven't the foggiest idea what they are, much less what they cost." Gornk scoffed and reached for a plasma torch. He brought the flame to the jar. "Don't you think we should put on—" Before Slira could finish, the jar exploded into little shards and threw red powder everywhere. The effect was instant. Gornk roared. His eyes burned and his throat closed up in pain. He slashed left and right wildly. Slira wasn't doing much better, judging by the loud screeching. What was this? He asked himself in the haze of pain. Nanites? Bioweapons? On a backwater human planet. "Mark, did we ever get a spice shipment these past few months?" "Not that I know of." "Damn, I could really go for some curry right now.